I'm going out with some friends in like an hour, but I was like, you know what? I have time and I'm done up. Might as well film a video. And there has been a video that I've been meaning to film, and that's what I read in 2025. Also, I didn't know how to. I was like, should I try to make my background aesthetic? But then also part of me is like, this is just how my room looks. So ignore how like messy everything is. So whether we like it or not, the year of 2025 is ending in just a few weeks, and I did not meet my reading goals. I set out to read 20 books this year, and I read. Well, I'm in the middle of one, and I DNF'd one. So whether you want to count that or not, I read. What's that? 12, 12 and a half out of 20. In the year of 2024, I wanted to read 35 books, and I read 19. In the year of 2023, I wanted to read 50 books, and I read 30. And in the year of 2022, I wanted to read 10 books, and I read 27. Clearly, that one year made me overconfident for the following years. And in the year of 2020, I wanted to read 10 books, and I read 5. So that's some background as to why I chose number 20. I do think for 2026 I will set a goal for 20 again. I think I just had a bit of a drought in the middle, but I guess that happens every year. So I'm gonna just go through each book that I read and do like a quick rating, and then also I'll just put like what I put as my Goodreads rating like on the screen somewhere. Also, I'm a little shy because my roommate has her door open because she's getting ready, and I know that she can hear me, and I shouldn't be embarrassed, but I am. So for the first book that I read in 2025, sorry, it's Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I love this cover. Sue me, I love a good cover. I will judge every cover by the book. I will purposely not buy a book just because of its cover. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, I guess. I remember the first, like the opening, something really hit me. And I'm going to read you, if there's any quote that I feel like was really important to my experience, and I'm just going to go ahead and read that. So, why would the Prophet Muhammad get a whole visit from an archangel? Why should Saul get to see the literal light of heaven on the road to Damascus? Of course, it would be easy to establish bedrock faith after such clear cut revelation. How was it fair to celebrate what they plainly observed to be true? And what sense did it make to punish the rest of humanity who had never been privy to such explicit revelation? To make everyone else lurch from crisis to crisis, desperately alone. And then later on in that same like kind of chapter, I guess, or opener, Cyrus, the main character, is basically like high as a kite and laying on the ground of his apartment, staring up at this light bulb. And he basically says, God, if you're real, then make the light bulb flicker. And he like stares at it, and like for a moment he thinks that does flicker, but then he can't tell if it's just because he's high. Um, and he realizes that in the end, he he just needs to make a choice. Does he believe that the light flickered because God made it flicker, or does he believe that it was just in his brain? And what I mean by choice is that that's the ultimate choice of faith. Not necessarily in the exact moment, because obviously in the exact moment you could be like, why doesn't he just ask again, or like whatever. But yeah, I think that for the past few years, um, on in an exponential way, I've been dealing with questions with my faith, dealing with um, well, I won't get too much into it, but yeah, just a lot of doubt and stuff. So I feel like that just really hit me where I was. Is that the phrase? I don't know. That was definitely a good opener. As for the rest of the book, beautifully written. I think even though I knew what was going to happen, even though I had a guess, I want to see how he revealed it and how the main character would react, most importantly. Um, and yeah, overall, solid read. I am a bit late to it, and the reason why I'm late to certain reads is because I really don't like hardback, and I will wait the full year to wait for the paperback to come out. So by the time I read this, like everyone was already, over it, but and that's gonna be true for a few of my other books. So the next book that I read is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which is definitely outside of my usual genre. The only reason why I read it was because my boyfriend was like, "You have to try Brandon Sanderson," and he was like, "Mistborn is a good starter, I guess, and it's a standalone, which I appreciate." So And I did enjoy it. I remember enjoying it. I gave it 3.6 out of 5 stars apparently. Yeah, I think I liked having some escapism in a fantastical way, I guess, which I'm not really used to with my usual like literary books. So that was a lot of fun. But I remember something that really bothered me, and skip ahead, I guess, if like spoilers and stuff, although it's a really old book. Um, so the main character, Vin, I think. Oh, Vin, yeah, Vin. Vin has like heavy trust issues. Like that's what we know from the beginning about her. She basically was betrayed as a child by her brother and just was taught to like never trust anybody. And throughout the entire book, like within Vin, there's a bunch of this like potential energy in her of like feeling like she's gonna be betrayed soon. Like even when she meets I don't know his name, the guy who like mentors her and takes her in kind of, she's constantly just wondering like when is him and his crew going to like betray me. Um and it kind of felt like this like energy just fizzled out. I understand that in the end it's revealed that her brother never truly betrayed her, so I guess that's the resolution to that. Yeah, she kind of just like learns to trust. And then I don't know why. I don't know why it felt so strongly to me that this was like not satisfying the way that Sanderson handled like Vin's kind of trauma. But I guess I had a problem with it. Okay, and then next the book that I read, probably one of the strangest books I've ever read, and that is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. Um, she won the Nobel Prize in Literature with this book, and so I knew I had to read it at some point. I didn't like the cover very much, but then I got my hands on the UK cover, which is so beautiful. I don't know, like honestly, when people ask me like what I thought about it, I don't know what to tell them other than like the cliche. It was strange. Do I understand why she won the the Nobel Prize for this book? Honestly, not really. Not only that, but I think that like when I read translated fiction, or sorry, translated literature, they all kind of have this like similar tone because in the end it's translated, so the translators have to like do their best to not make anything their own voice too much. They need to make it as direct as possible. I don't know if it's in my head or not, but like, I feel like there's like a kind of like veil over the writing that like, I can't fully connect with sometimes. Sometimes I do like it. It feels very straightforward and like dry, and I really appreciate it. But sometimes it really just makes me reminded, like, okay, this is translated, which isn't like obviously a fault of its own. I give it 4 out of 5 stars, so I guess I really liked it though. So with The Vegetarian, I also bought this book in the UK cover, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. This is my first Rooney, and I need to read more. I haven't gotten around to it because I had like too much on my LDR, but LDR, long distance really. Sorry, T TBR. I don't know why I said LDR. My TBR, but I really loved her, and I was kind of like as I was reading, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand why like people either love her or hate her, but I kind of felt like if you hate her, you just don't get it. This was a 6 star read for me. Okay, it's confusing. This book I loved so much, but the ending I really hated actually. But I loved it so much that I put it on my 6 star shelf on my Goodreads. But I think I rated it technically like a 4.75 or something like that because of the ending. So like that's like kind of doesn't make sense. It seems contrary, or contradictory. But I just like love the rest of it too much to like not give it credit. I feel like Sally Rooney, her writing is just so like there are so many moments where I'll be like, yes, that is like the perfect way to describe this very specific situation or very specific feeling. She was able to be the voice of so many different types of characters, and I really admire that. I feel like as someone who's like trying to write herself. But yeah, the reason why I didn't like the ending, and you can skip if you like don't want to get spoilers, but I felt like Peter, the main character ish, the whole time throughout the book, he wanted everything, right? He wanted to have his cake and eat it too, or whatever. He wanted to have like a beautiful companion who was smart, witty, on par with his career, and they look good together. They match. They're just in each other's leagues. And then he also wants like the younger, sexy, like submissive sex toy of a girlfriend who's like 18 or something. I think she's 19. He wants both, and I hate that Rooney gave it to him at the end. And I kind of felt like if he in the end chose to be with the woman of his dreams, who he unfortunately can't have sex with, and kind of like put away his animal desires, sexual desires, um, that would like show his growth or like how he's been impacted throughout this entire book. But then in the end, he's just in a throuple, and I was like, what? Like, okay, I hate him, I guess. No, I don't hate him, but if anything, I just like didn't understand the woman who agreed to that. I was like, it felt like maybe they were desperate and he was the prize. I don't know. And also towards the end, he meets his younger brother's girlfriend for the first time. And throughout the book, he doesn't ever meet her, so he kind of thinks that she's like, he thinks poorly of her, to be honest, because he thinks, what kind of woman would date my younger brother? And she's also like 36 years old and a divorcee. And she ends up being like fairly attractive. And it's in his POV, and you can tell that he only respects her and his perspective has shifted all of a sudden just because she's attractive. And this is like in the last, like, I don't know, a few pages of the book. And I was like, this, like when him and his brother reconciling and like he's at his chess tournament, like watching, like, it just really soured that entire ending for me, which is sad, but I still loved it so much. Um, I'll read a quote. I've read this quote too many times, but I guess I haven't read it on this channel. This might not mean anything to people because it's gonna be out of context, but it was obvious then that it was not going to be enough, that he was too young and going through bereavement. Those were solid, sensible ideas, powerful enough for the surface of daily life, but not powerful enough for the hidden life of desire shared between two people. I cried reading this, which is always a good sign for me. I threw my hair up because I think it was just like distracting me too much. I also have to leave soon, so we'll see how that goes. But next book I read after Intermezzo, Butter. I'm just gonna say this: so freaking boring, and like no insights. It's like sometimes I've described this to my boyfriend before, but sometimes when you read something or if you watch something, you can just feel when the author like is just embodying the character and using the character's mouth to say their own ideas. And sometimes it's like well done because it's in the lane of the character. But other times it's just like, all right, this character is just your mouthpiece, to say like whatever, in this case, whatever ideas you have about women and men and dating and marriage. And like it's not like it's not nuanced and it's not like well integrated in my opinion. This was that for me, and also all the takes were like kind of uninteresting, I think. And also I think like by this time I was slowly getting sick of what I referred to earlier, of that feeling of when you read translated text, which again, it's not this book's fault, but I definitely was feeling that fatigue. And so I think I got to like 100 something pages and I had to put her down because it's a nice cover though, but oh my god. And the next book that I read, and this really, really like finalized my fatigue with translated fiction for this year, was Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. I love Kawakami. I rated it 3.4. I don't think I like really underlined anything, but I think I really did feel for the characters. It did feel like very empowering, I guess. I mean, that's the entire book. I have not much more to say. It was beautifully written. Love Mieko, and I love the cover. This is also UK cover because it's just prettier. Oh, I said I was done with translated work. I lied. I had one more. Maybe this was the final straw. If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura. Kawamura? Boring. Just so boring. I read on the beach. It was very quick, very short, very cute cover. literally drew nothing from it. I still remember the book, but not in an impactful way. It was just so boring. I think it was a good beach read maybe because it was like, actually, no. Why am I, no, I'm not gonna give it that mercy. It was boring. Yeah, sorry. This book, Coco freaking Mellors, Blue Sisters. I do not like Coco Mellors, is what I've learned by reading her second book. I read her debut novel, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I really liked the first half. I remember I had a very in-depth review of it that I can't recall right now. So I knew that this book, I didn't necessarily have the highest expectations, but I did have some because Jack Edwards, my favorite reviewer, really loved it. But I think I just couldn't understand why he liked it. Maybe it's just because it has like robust characters, but like, holy shit, I give it 1.2 stars, and I left quite a lengthy review. One of the things I'll mention that I really hated is Coco Mellors, this woman. Whenever she always includes like some kind of side character. Okay, I say always, but it's only been 2 books, but whatever. She always includes some kind of side character that's like ethnic. Okay, like for example, in Cleopatra and Frankenstein, there's like this um I forget what race he was, but he speaks Spanish. And he goes like locos like in the middle of a sentence and stuff. Like he just is like spewing Spanish once in a while, which just sounded it just felt so like maybe like that's actually how he would speak and that's normal, but just felt so I don't know. And then there was another ethnic character who was like this older Asian man, and she would just not let him speak with contractions. He would only speak with like just like super rigid like English. I could tell what kind of voice she was imagining in her head as she wrote this. It was just so corny. Yeah, that's like one thing I really like. It was just so corny, poorly done, bad characters, and just it felt unrealistic how some of the characters acted in certain 1.2 stars. Okay, this year, this little penguin classic is the culprit of why I read so little books, in my opinion, this year. I started this book January 1st of this year, and I finished it, I think, in like October. She was she was a tough one for me. It's not even like that hard of like old it's not like old English or anything, so I don't know why I struggled so much, but I would just really have to concentrate to like understand what I was reading. I will say though, even though I kind of knew what was going to happen, and like Mr. Darcy is like the love interest, so you know that they're gonna get together. When he like confessed to her, I literally audibly gasped in my bedroom. I was like, which was a fun like little moment, and I felt like when obviously things don't work out, I really did yearn for like how they're gonna reconcile, how they're gonna end up together in the end. You know, it's sometimes I feel like enemies to lovers are like these tropes. You already know that they're gonna end up together, so the magic is lost in a way. But I felt like this was, yeah, this did it well. Give it 3 stars. I read it purely so that I can read the movie finally because I have to read the movie or watch. I have to read the book before I watch the movie. So next book that I read was This Is How You Lose a Time War. Very unique book. I heard someone like compare it to Pure Nessie in terms of how like unique it is, and the world is so like it's really imaginative. But I think that that person kind of ruined this book for me because Pure Nessie was just so beautiful and like really captured me, I feel like. Whereas this world didn't really do that, especially because I don't think this is a spoiler, but it kind of like jumps from place to place. So it's not really that a new world is built, it's just more like it's our world but different timelines. If anything, I kind of wanted each like I would get interested in a timeline and but each chapter is so short it would just be like, all right, what's the next one? 2 stars. Yeah. It was all right. Post Office Girl. Loved this one. Really felt all of her emotions, like her excitement, her like her anxiety, and ultimately her depression. I felt it so strongly to the point where, spoiler alert, you can skip a few seconds, when her lover suggests that they kill themselves. I was like happy for her. I don't know if that's like bad for me to say. Or he didn't suggest that she kills herself, but he was like, I'm gonna commit suicide. And then she was like, wait, me too. I want to do it with you. We can do it together. And so I guess I fully felt what she was feeling because I don't know if this is okay for me to say, but yeah, I was like kind of like, oh my god, like you're so miserable. There's no future here. Like it really draws you through that. And then when it reaches the conclusion of the thought of suicide, it seems like a way out. And I thought that that was really well done. What follows after also like I feel like made me provoke the same emotions in me that did in her. Um, so yeah, I was a big fan of this. My first Stephen Zweig book. Definitely will be reading more of his. This book weird, not weird in a vegetarian way, not in a good way, just weird. Not. It just kind of felt like absurd for no reason, for no good. Maybe I just didn't get it, but I got to like 3/4 and I had to DNF because I remember I was getting to the point where like I was on to the next short story and I would like count how many pages I would have to read to finish it, and that's when you know it's bad. Currently, I'm reading The Bee Sting. I'm a little over halfway through, so like I'm at like page 320, something like that. Phenomenal book so far. I love it so much. I can understand why for some people it's like a bit long, but I really feel like you just get fully immersed in each character because the way that he writes it is kind of like each part is a character of one family. It's he's like a man, and I feel like the way that he wrote about the teenage girl's perspective was so impressive. Like I really related to it, and I am even though it's a literary piece, there's still like some like conflict and mystery, and really keeps you hooked. And it's like you find out a little bit more, and it like keeps you hooked to go into the next one. You're like, okay, why is everyone talking about this but not explaining it? I guess. Um, and as you like learn about each character in the family and you see their perspective, you get a fuller and fuller picture. So I'm very excited to finish this. I don't think I'll finish it by the end of this year, which is why I'm just kind of filming this video now. That is all of the books I read and didn't read in the year of 2025. I really have to go now. I'm gonna be late. I realized that yeah, I understand why people like clip their mic to like objects to hold. It's so much easier. Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Anyway, yeah. Hope you enjoyed hearing me just blab about books. I love books, and thanks for watching.